Welcome to SVGTV News for Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Some 1,920 grade 6 students from across the country will be writing the final components of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment (CPEA) on Thursday and Friday. The figure includes 946 males and 956 females. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic and the social distancing guidelines in place to help stem the spread of the virus, the Ministry of Education has implemented a number of measures for this year's exam, which includes an increase in the number of examination centers from 16 to 57. Senior Education Officer Bernadette Graves said the change allows for spacious classrooms in order for students to observe the social distancing guidelines.
To observe the physical distancing guideline, and with that we have spread them out into 57 centers across the country, so they will be seated with that guideline in place. We try not to move them as well from their school because we don't want the congestion on the buses, hence the reason why some of them are remaining where they are and being spaced according to the guidelines.
This year also, some students will be allowed to sit the CPEA at their respective schools. Graves said transportation arrangements are also in place for students who may feel disadvantaged.
Already we have a number of students who have special assessment arrangement for this year. We have persons with enlarged print because they are unable to see well. Those persons are being taken care of. We have persons who require a reader, who require rest periods, so all of those things are taken care of. We don't want to put any student at a disadvantage. Everybody must be given a fair chance at the examination. So yes, we do cater for those average and those not so average students.
The senior education officer said she is quite aware of the anxiety level of some students and parents during this time and encouraged them to remain calm.
Can also look at the psychological preparation of our students. Examination is a stressful time and we don't want persons or the students to be too stressed out. We want them to perform well on the day of the exam. So parents, the onus is on you to keep them calm and just let them be. The night before the exam, let them go to bed early, have a good rest, give them a good breakfast all in the morning and speak to them. Pray over your children and just leave them in the hands of the Lord.
President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, said despite some challenges still being experienced due to COVID-19, teachers managed well preparing students for the regional examinations, including the CPEA. In a telephone interview with SVGTV News, Robinson said he still has reservation about the safety measures put in place by the Ministry of Education for teachers and students, noting that they were not clearly outlined. He said teachers have again demonstrated their commitment to the profession in this instance.
Said our teachers would have done exactly what they called upon to do. Everything is still not 100% in terms of especially social distancing. We know that the students will do so in the classroom, but it's a great challenge for the teachers to supervise and monitor them like during the break periods. Okay, and it is also similar in the society when the students leave at school and they go back home. Nobody really is observing social distancing.
The SVGTU president said he is positive that students sitting the CPEA will do their teachers, parents, and themselves proud.
Really gone beyond the call of duty, and they have worked extremely hard given the current situation with COVID. We want to also appreciate the principals for the hard work that they have put in, and we appreciate the patience from the parents, and we would want to wish all the students every success in their exams. Make sure that they get to the venues on time.
In other news, some 2,596 Vincentians who have been affected by the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic have received income support or unemployment benefit from the government's COVID-19 stimulus package. Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez noted this in Parliament while responding to a question from opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday on how much of the money allocated in the supplementary estimates and supplementary appropriation bill has been spent on each of the income support measures and how many people have been assisted thus far under each measure. Minister Gonzalez explained that several relief programs were set up to assist persons affected, which include displacement benefits, unemployment benefits, and interim assistance benefits. He said under the displacement program, they have paid out just over $1 million to 1,496 beneficiaries, which exceeded the $750,000 grant which was allocated to the program from the National Insurance Services, the NIS.
As of the 12th of June 2020, $1,026,450 has been paid out to 1,496 beneficiaries under the DSI, and that is 618 men and 878 women. The government anticipated that demand on this program would have exceeded the initial $750,000 allocated to it. So provisions have been made in the MOU to address this. 2, the program has to be extended, as was discussed earlier this morning, beyond the initial 3-month period due to the protracted impact of the pandemic on affected sectors and persons. Accordingly, additional funds will be allocated to meet the requirements of the larger numbers of persons accessing the DSI and to finance the extension for a further 3 months. The government is making arrangements to transfer these funds to the NIS.
The finance minister said the NIS unemployment program has paid out $700,000 to 1,100 persons, while under the interim assistant benefit program, just over $729,000 were paid out to 754 persons.
A total of $266,000 has been paid out by the Ministry of National Mobilization to the 600 vulnerable persons under the IAB, and as at the 17th of June, the Ministry of Transport and Works has paid out $463,500 to 1,644 vendors and other persons in the informal sector. The other persons, the main component of the other persons are the handcart operators who got a one-off payment of $300. Additionally, as I indicated earlier, there were 60 vendors who applied their trade on the seawall. They were subject to a separate compensation and income support program because they were asked additionally to dismantle and move their structures.
Minister Gonzalez also noted that the minibus taxi tourbus support program paid out a grand total of $220,000 to 390 operators. He further noted that $179,800 were paid out to 361 minibus operators for the month of April, and that more monies are expected to be paid out to these operators for the month of May this week.
17th of June 2020, the Ministry of Tourism, paid out a grand total on one-off income support of $228,000, broken down as follows. 309 taxi operators received a total of $154,000. 40 water taxi operators received a total of $12,000. 31 tour bus operators received a total of $62,000. Thus far, the Ministry of Transport and Works has paid income support to the minibus sector for the month of April only. Supplementary funding was needed as a result of the larger than anticipated payout to vendors in the informal sector and others. These funds have since been arranged, and payments for the month of May will be made this week. For the month of April 2020, the Ministry of Transport and Works paid out $179,800 to 351 minibus operators. For the month of May, this figure is expected to increase as the number of registered operators is now 100 higher.
Fisher folk and the youth are encouraged to apply for one of the fishing boats which are being purchased under the COVID-19 Food Security and Livelihood Program. Applications are made through the Farmers Support Company, with the Fisheries Division conducting assessment to ensure that the applicants meet the necessary requirements. This was noted by Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Saboto Caesar, in Parliament on Monday evening.
The Fisheries Division will conduct assessments to ensure that the applicants will meet a list of requirements. The applicant must be an active member of the fishing industry for at least 5 years or more. The applicant must be a registered fisher, or for new entrants. So I want to say it's not only for existing fisher folk. For new entrants, must become a registered fisher or cooperative.
The boats will be at a cost of approximately 70,000 EC dollars each, and a bill of sale will be attached, and the operations will be monitored jointly by the Fisheries Division and the Farmer Support Company.
Yes, the boats will come at a cost of approximately $70,000 for each boat. Fishers applying for a loan will receive 100% financing at 0% interest rate. Repayment schedule is approximately $833 per month over a maximum period of 84 months. We had discussed the issue of 5 years, but the sentiment coming from the fishing community have decided to take it up to 7 years. And we may have to go further. And a bill of sale will be attached to the boat purchased. All of this will be managed, monitored jointly between the
Minister Caesar said the boats will be fitted with engines and cold storage unit. However, the recipients will be required to purchase the fishing equipment, which they can get from the Farmers Support Company at a discount price.
Equipment and cold storage. Yes, engines and cold storage. As it pertains to the fishing equipment, there will be a 50% discount, 100% financing will be available through the Farmers Support Company. And yes, it was advised by the Minister of Finance at a recent cabinet meeting that the Ministry of Technology has advised that they must have radios because of several unfortunate situations that have taken place in recent times, and we don't want to be an accomplice to that.
While a number of persons have already shown interest in getting one of the boats, Minister Caesar said they will take a while to get to SVG because of the issue with the COVID-19 pandemic. And 121 footpaths have been completed thus far under the pedestrian access for Village Enhancement PAVE project. So says Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves while speaking on NBC Radio this morning.
And now, right now, we're doing in Body Gutter, Glen, Brighton, Rosebank, and several others are coming on. But we have to execute contracts, and there's some surveying issues here and there. They're doing one above. They did one above the undermining Park Hill. They, fortunately, is a friend of the government who encroach on the people in land. So they said, well, I'll give them back a different piece somewhere else, or we pay them for it, you know.
The Prime Minister said construction and repairs to roads and buildings will soon start by Braxa, and listed some of the repair works to be done, which he said will be completed before year end.
Riversdale and Revere, they have started, and we should be starting well, all now so, because we have money in the account for Braxa. We're going to do roads like Oya Clinic Road, McCracken, Diamond Village, Manawan, Dumbarton, Maryhole, Sharp, Sion Hill, Bay Fountain, Villa Link Road, Old Flower Mill Road, Lower Cotton Ground Road, Dorsetshire Hill, Great House, Pepper Village, Corner Bay, Ridge Road in Chumuka, Quarry Road in Layu, Mount Pleasant, in Beckway, Bajan Corner, and Ashton Well Main Road in Union Island. Then we have about 10 million in some small construction projects which are on the way, and then big works are still going on.
The High Court today ruled that it has jurisdiction to hear the Leon Biggerbig Samuel case against the government after the Attorney General representing the government asked for the case to be struck out, claiming that the court had no jurisdiction to hear the matter. Leon Biggerbig Samuel filed an application to the court in December for a review of survey of lands at Rabuka, which were claimed to be Crown lands. The Attorney General later filed an application claiming that Biggerbigs was out of time to file the case and asked that it be struck out. Lawyer for Biggerbigs, Akeem John of Elizabeth Law Chambers, said that today's decision by the High Court is a win for his client.
Governor General's application to strike out the claim is dismissed. Bigger Cement's application to amend its fixed date claim form by inserting originating motion in the headings, a reference to Section 7 of the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the introductory paragraph, amongst others. And 3, Bigger Cement shall file and serve the amended fixed date claim form within 14 days of today's date, i.e. on or before the 9th of July 2020. The Governor General is granted an extension of time to July 23rd, 2020 to file her defense, and the Governor General shall pay to Bigger Cement and Aggregate Incorporated costs to be assessed, if not agreed, on application to be filed and served on or before 28th of July 2020.
Lawyer Jomo Thomas also agrees it's a victory for Biggerbigs.
Biggerbig Samuel was arrested, he was taken off his land, he was taken to the Georgetown police station and detained, and the state went on to his land and purported to do a survey, which you heard Minister Francis referring to as C-1842. In the claim, Mr. Samuel is asserting that the entry of the state officials onto his land was arbitrary, it was a curtailment of his rights, his due process rights. It was contrary to certain sections of the Vincentian Constitution, and that it amounted to an abuse of process. That is a matter that will be heard down the road. But the important victory which Mr. Biggerbigs Leon Samuel won today is that he was able to get the court to vindicate his right to hear this very important matter in the High Court of Justice in Kingstown, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
No date has been set for the hearing of the case. However, John said that they are prepared to carry the matter through its full course.
Samuel, from the outset, we have always challenged that process on the basis that the only basis on which that action could have been taken is if there were Crown lands present there. And there are no Crown lands as far as Mr. Samuel is concerned, and we have advised him accordingly. Arising out of that, the Crown Lands Act makes provisions to challenge the survey that comes out of that survey process. And we dutifully took the necessary action in commencing legal proceedings to begin with, on the basis that, in fact, there was no basis for invoking the Crown Lands Act, and as Councillor Thomas said, seeking redress.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has given the assurance that there is an ongoing investigation into the gas station fire at Clifton, Union Island, which resulted in the death of 3 persons. He was at the time responding to a question in Parliament on Monday from Area Representative Terence Oliver on whether an investigation of the cause of the fire and the response of the fire department to the fire has been conducted, and what recommendations, if any, have been made as a result of the investigation.
An investigation was launched immediately after the fire a senior officer from the Major Crimes Unit, along with a senior officer resident who is attached to the Union Island Police Station, were given the lead to conduct this investigation. And the purpose of the investigation, the central purpose, among other things, is to ascertain the cause of the fire and the response of the fire department. And at the conclusion of the investigations, a report would be produced, and included in that report would be recommendations. I'm very grateful that the question is asked so that citizens can be assured that there's an ongoing investigation.
The 3 victims of the gas station fire included the owner, Freddie North, and 2 students, 15-year-old Dandy Neverson and 17-year-old Gianca Alexander. They sustained first, second, and third-degree burns in the explosion. The police have arrested and charged Laquan Robinson, a 22-year-old businessman of Arnersville, with possession of an unlawful firearm and assault. According to the police, on Tuesday at Arnersville, Robinson allegedly had in his possession 1 Uzi firearm without a license issued under the Firearms Act. He was also charged with having in his possession 1 prohibited firearm without the authorization of the Minister of National Security. In addition, Robinson allegedly assaulted a 27-year-old businessman of Kingston Park by pointing a gun at him with the intent to commit the offense of bodily harm. The accused is expected to appear before the Serious Offences Court to answer to the charges. And in light of a fire that destroyed the house and contents of Police Constable 62 Asiana Banwell on May 11, 2020, the RSVG Police Force, along with the ex-police associations in New York and SVG and the Caribbean Federation of Police Welfare Associations, have come together to make monetary donations to assist the police officer in her time of need. Making a donation on behalf of the RSVG Police Force at the handing over ceremony held today at the Police Headquarters Conference Room, Commissioner of Police Colin John articulated that the organization looks at the holistic development of police officers, and because of the setback experienced by Constable Banwell and her family, the organization took the decision to make the donation to help alleviate some of her burdens. President of the Ex-Police Association SVG, Michael Charles, stated that after hearing about the incident, the association decided to make a donation to Constable Banwell. The retired Commissioner of Police said that the situation is not only sad because of what transpired, but the time it happened in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. In receiving the donations, Constable Banwell expressed gratitude to the RSVG Police Force, the Ex-Police Association in New York, and SVG, along with the Caribbean Federation of Police Welfare Association, on behalf of her family.